This morning, so much is happening. I was up quite early, not because I was so excited to find out what was going on, but because I was kept up much of the night by a sore shoulder. Um, I'm not quite sure whether this is a result of my being knocked over or whether it's a result of some sort of developing arthritis or um, a repetitive strain injury, which again is part of a result of um, working animation, doing all this sort of drawing with one hand, and uh, you have to be careful. You have to be quite careful about the way you work, and I'm afraid I am slightly obsessive, and I can quite happily knock out 16 hours in a day, as well as doing YouTube videos and stuff, and I just keep going. So if you notice, by the way, that my sound isn't working properly, I have no idea what's wrong with the sound because I don't change the settings. Um, but please let me know because I tend not to look at the videos once I posted them. So you're more likely to see a problem with them than I am. I just get back to the animation. I just get back to the work, or I get back to teaching. So two things which have struck me this morning. Number one is Mr. Zelensky's call in the wake of the withdrawal from the city of Avdiivka, uh, which which Ukraine has been struggling to hold on to for months and has finally abandoned. Zelensky has asked for help to sort out the artificial deficit of weapons, which is a result, in part, of the of all these promises which are not made good. A war is not won on rhetoric; it's won on armies and on a sheer force of weaponry, and particularly a modern war. And rhetoric is a second issue. And the Russians are better at munitions and they're better at rhetoric. And a lot of the Russian rhetoric is about simply asking that childish question, why? And Russia knows very well that when asking that question, why, the West and people who write comments under here are all going to pause and consider that question, and rightly so. That question is a good question to ask, and it doesn't automatically presume the answer. But Russia's approach is to repetitively ask that question, why, and in the end, that becomes irritating. Any parent will know that. And Putin and the Kremlin is a fractious toddler, and it needs time out. It needs time out to repair, to reform, to recognize what it's done wrong. And it's done a lot wrong. And as for the body of Navalny, there's now reports that his body has been seen, badly bruised, but still the lawyers have not got access to it. Still, the state authorities who run the prison are saying they want to conduct a further investigation, whether this means a second autopsy, whether a first autopsy has even been done. We don't know. We won't know. It may well be that Putin and his cronies want to get the body cremated and out of the way so that there will still be questions, but in the end people will shrug and say, well, who knows? Who knows? And in the end it becomes one of those questions which turns into a conspiracy theory rather than a fact. And that's the other side of the why question. The Kremlin is very good at this. Keeping a conversation alive, keeping people talking about it, is not resolving it, is not sorting it out. Yulia Navalnaya is going to Brussels today and will address. She will talk about her husband's death. She will become the voice. She will become the voice of her husband. It's it's an extraordinarily tender moment, really, and it's a necessary moment. And people will move on. The fact that his mother was not allowed into the morgue, it's shocking. The fact that Russian spies are known to have visited the prison just before his death, it's suspicious. The fact that the prison was crawling with officials in the day of or the day before his death is suspicious. And now over 400 people have been detained in Russia because they have attended memorials. Yulia Navalnaya has called on the world to avenge her husband, to punish Putin. But what exactly does that mean? What exactly does that mean? More sanctions? Well, sanctions don't work. Sanctions in a small way, like sanctions on the settlers in Israel, work because they send a clear message, and they impose a sort of coordinated punishment. But trying to punish an entire country like this, the country learns to live with it, number one, and number two, it punishes the people, not the leaders responsible. Iran has learnt to live with sanctions. Russia has learnt to live with sanctions. But Putin still maintains control. Vladimir KaraMurza, for example, is still in prison. No amount of sanctions are going to release him. Putin believes, whether there's sanctions or not, he takes that into account. Putin believes that he is untouchable, that he is free to do whatever he wants. And his actions are getting wilder and wilder, more and more tyrannous. Sanctions are not the answer. The answer is something perhaps a little bit more targeted. And maybe we should discuss this later.